This coach told you to be thinking about Saturday long and Kentucky on the time. It's not happening.
All right. That is frozen. There we go. All right. So, yesterday, we were talking about solving by elimination. So, you probably have one that's partially done. We're just going to kind of move on from there because I'd like to do a little review. So, we're going to do one review and then move on to where we were talking about. So, for people who were not here yesterday, just your one chance. Oh yeah.
What, elimination?
What?
5-3.
So we're still in 5-3. Let's see. Okay. So we're now talking about, we have 3 ways to solve systems of equations. What are our 3 ways? What's one? Graphing. What's another one? Substitution. And we're learning elimination. So 3 ways, which means we have choices about how we're going to solve a system of equations. This guy is ready to be solved by elimination. How do I know that? They automatically, if you add them, things are going to cancel each other out. Yes, ma'am?
What if both equations are canceled?
That was another great question. We'll talk about that too. Okay. I like it. You've asked 2 good questions and both of them are said. We will talk about it. So if you add these together, make sure that you are adding everything. This is just like the one we did on the warm-up. So add all the pieces together. What happens to the x's? They go away. Don't write anything down because they're gone. I don't want it to mess you up. You just don't write anything down. What's the y's? 5y equals what? 5. Okay. The nice thing about elimination is it gives you a one-step equation to solve. What are you going to get when you do this? Because you're going to divide by 5. So you get y equals 1. We also talked about yesterday, bless you, that you need to, once you have your whatever x or y equals first, you need to plug it into a different equation to solve. You need to plug it into the top. You need to plug it into the bottom. You may choose either. I like to choose wisely. I'm going to plug mine into the top. Why might I choose that? No negatives. Okay, they're not like, I'm not scared of the negatives, but I know that if I use something with a negative, I'm going to be more likely to make a mistake. Okay, so we multiply here. What's 3 times 1? Okay, now we have a 2-step equation. So if you're doing your substitution correctly, you will have a 1-step equation to solve and then a 2-step equation to solve. Okay, so what do we do here? So we have 2x equals 8. 11 minus 3 is 8. And then what? So x is equal to 4. So last thing, we write our answers as coordinate points, 4, 1. Make sure you put your x first, not your y. It is a good idea to go back and check these. And you guys, if you were to look at my answer keys and things like that, I'll always check them by plugging in, and I just write over it once I'm done with the problem. So then I can be like, oh, what's 2 times 4? That's 8. What's 3 times 1? That's 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. I'll do the same thing with the bottom. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. 2 times 1 is 2. And is negative 8 plus 2 negative 6? Yep, so we're correct. Okay. Now, that's what we did yesterday. We were just starting to get into things like this. Oh gosh, let's see. So let's say we have 2x. Let's go negative 2x plus 5y is equal to negative 10. And x plus, nope, let's go x minus 3y is equal to 6. So we end up with this problem where it's set up to be eliminated because the x's and the y's are on the same set. Okay, that's a good indication that you can do this elimination with this, but what's the problem? Nothing cancels. If I'm going to add these guys, nothing cancels. So this is where we were talking yesterday. I have to multiply either the top or the bottom. We'll get to the point where we can multiply both. So if you're like, I don't even know if it's the top or the bottom, I have a solve for that. To multiply either the top or the bottom to make something cancel. So do we want to multiply the top or the bottom? What are you going to multiply the bottom by? Positive 2. Because if you look at that x up there, it would be really easy to make this into 2x, and then I can make them cancel. So I heard somebody say in a different class, maybe it was this class, I don't remember. They said, I don't know how to tell. Well, you just look. It's pretty easy to turn this into 2x and they could cancel. That is your indicator that you're going to multiply this whole thing by 2. Okay, so it requires a little extra writing because you have to rewrite it. The top does not change. We didn't change it. The bottom we're multiplying by 2. Okay, when you do this, number one mistake with this is people don't multiply all the pieces by 2. So 2 times the x is 2x. 2 times the negative 3 is what? Negative 6y, because it's negative. And then 2 times 6, which is 12. Now we have something that will eliminate and set us up for our one-step equation. Okay, so when you add these guys together, the x's cancel because we made them cancel. What is the y's? When you add these guys, what do you get? Negative y or negative 1y, either way. And then what do you get when you add those guys? 2. Yep. I was thinking about the number 12 and thought 2 is not right, but it is. Okay, what are we going to do with our y? What do you have to do? Divide by negative 1. Okay, so y is equal to what number? Negative 2. Now, you guys, we got negatives and positives in both of these. Which one would you rather plug it into? Okay, I'm going to plug mine into the bottom. But you guys, it doesn't matter. I think I'm going to do it this way. Okay, 2-step equation, I have to multiply there. What do we get? Positive 6. So if x plus 6 is equal to 6, what are you going to do? You get x equals 0. Remember, don't freak out. 0 is a number. You can have it. It's okay.
So when you're going back to plug in the y, you go to the original equation?
Yes, don't go to this one only because if you made a mistake in your multiplying, you won't catch it. So always go back to the original equation. Now, before I go too much farther, I want to talk about something McKinley asked yesterday. So let me ask you this. Let's say you have two x minus y equals 9 and y plus 3x is equal to 16. Okay, so here's my question. Can I use elimination on that?
Yeah.
Tell me why you say yeah.
Because there's two lines in it. There's a positive line and negative line.
Okay. He's not wrong, but they're not stacked up and down, right? So if you see that, if you see it and you're like, I know they'll cancel, it's fine. It's fine. If you like them to be stacked on top of each other, you are allowed to rearrange. Okay, so I could, if I always like my x's first, this guy would stay the same. 2x minus y equals 9. What would this guy become?
3x plus 1 equals 9.
Yep. So either way, okay. So if you look at them, like Camden said, he's like, they both add. You can add them together and go, hey, the y's cancel, and that would be how many x's? 5x. Or you can stack them up and rearrange if that makes your brain happier. Okay? Both are fine. Okay? If you're like, I have to have them stacked up, that's fine. If you're like, I can see them, that's fine. What do you get for your x here? 5. Are we going to plug it into the top or the bottom? Doesn't matter, does it? So if I plug it into the top, you guys, I'm plugging mine into the bottom. So I've got y plus 3 times 15 equals 16. Oh, sorry, 3 times 5. My brain was working ahead of time. Okay, what's 3 times 5? 15. So y plus 15 has to equal 16. What do you get? What's y have to be? 1. So McKinley, that was yesterday's question. Your other question is going to wait till next week. Okay, because about what happens if they all go away. We'll talk about that next week. But I won't forget it because it's on the list of things to talk about anyway. Okay, so now let's do this. I don't want to show you that. That's my answer. All right, now this is, remember who was talking. I don't remember if it was this hour or if it was 7th hour, but somebody was like, I hated these last year because you did them last year. And they were like, we're multiplying things all over the place and I never knew what we were doing. Okay, so take a look at this one. First question, not really a question. I want you to notice, it's set up to be eliminated because the x's and y's are on the same side. I don't have anything that says x equals or y equals. It's not really meant for substitution. I don't have a y or an x that I can get by themselves. This is meant to be eliminated. But the problem is, if I add them, nothing's going to cancel. I also don't have anything like really nice, like it can't multiply by 2 or 3 on the top or the bottom to make them match. So what do? We're going to multiply both equations. And so listen to me right now. If we were talking about the other one, you're like, I never know which one to cancel. This way will work every time. Okay, so if you're like, no way, Jose, this is it for you then. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is say, if the top is 3, we're going to eliminate, you can choose. Do you want to eliminate x's or y's? Okay, let's eliminate y's. So if you're eliminating the y's, you look at those numbers, you're going to multiply the top. I just wrote numbers are on the bottom. Okay. You're going to multiply the bottom by the y on top. So you're going to multiply him by 2. And you're going to multiply the top by the bottom y, which is 5. Now, let me pause and tell you why. Not why the letter. Because what will that make this? And what will make it this one? 10. Okay, so if you kind of swap in an X pattern, so 5 and 2, you will make them the same number. Now we have one other issue. It will make the top 10, it will make the bottom 10. Will those cancel? No, because what has to be true? One of them has to be negative, but only one. You can pick. Let's make it the top though. Okay, so let's all do it the same this time. You can make the bottom one negative, it's fine. Okay? One of them has to be negative so that they cancel. Okay, so we're going to multiply the top by -5. So what does that turn this x into? -15x. What does it turn my y into? -10. What does it turn my answer into? -55. You can multiply the bottom by 2. That turns our x into what? 4. Not y, Adrian. You're ahead of me. Turns our y into, there's our 10. And turns our answer into 66. Now I have something that will eliminate.
Well, I can choose whichever one to
You can.
subtract or be.
You could. Yes.
So I like multiply by different like things. Is that okay?
Totally fine. Totally fine. You'll end up in the same place. So if we finish this, what do we get for our x's? How many when we add? -11. -55 plus 66 is what? +11. We're going to divide. So you guys, it will always come out to a one-step equation. So if you're like, this came out with x's and y's, we got a problem. Okay? What do we get? X equals what? -1. Now, there's no advantage to any of those equations, but listen to me very carefully. Plug it into an original. Okay? Because as soon as we start multiplying things here, we can make mistakes. Plug it into the original. Check in the original. So we plug into the original, we check in the original. I'm going to put mine in the bottom. So I have 2 times -1 plus 5y equals 33. There's something wrong. This is not good. Because I think you don't get a nice number. I screwed something up. Oh well. So -2 plus 5 times y equals 33. No, it's not. I didn't screw anything up. That's what I get for doing it in my head. What do you got to do? You got to add 2. Don't subtract 2. You did the same thing as me if you got 6.2. What's 33 plus 2? There we go. There you go. Y equals 7. Yes. Yep. Okay. I'm going to check in the original to make sure I'm correct. So I'm putting my -1 in there and my 7 in there. This would give me -3 plus 14. That's 11. So that's correct. I'm going to put my -1 in here. -1 and a 7. That's -2 plus 35. That's 33. So we did this correctly. If you want to guarantee that you'll catch a mistake, I would.
You just start with by giving it the x and then y.
Yeah, you just like substitution. Is that your deal?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's what I want to do. I want just a couple in your notes where we talk about what to multiply by. But we're not going to finish them all the way because I would like to switch to whiteboards. Okay. And then we'll finish them all the way when we're on whiteboards. Because I know we've talked a lot of notes in this section. So, listen to me again. These are not going to come out nice. Don't try to solve them. We're just going to talk about what you would do to make things eliminate. Okay. So, if you were going to make them eliminate, actually, let's be a little more specific. Should we eliminate x's or should we eliminate y's? Why would you choose x's?
Because they're smaller numbers.
Okay, that's one reason. Why else would we choose x's, Trina?
Already negative.
One's already negative. I would absolutely use that. So if I wanted to eliminate x's, I would multiply the bottom by what? 4. So listen, how we're getting that, because the 4 is with the top x. Okay, what would I multiply the top by? Now, I don't, this is the difference. I'm only going to do positive 3. And the reason why is because if I do this, just stop and check it. This is positive 12. This is going to be negative 12. If I multiply the top by negative 3, that will turn him into negative 12, and then negative 12 on the bottom. Okay, we're not going to finish that. Okay, that's what we would do. So let's do another one. No, we're not going to finish it. Okay. So let's say we have 5x plus 7y equals 32, and 4x plus 10y equals 19. Okay, so if I asked you to eliminate the y's, okay, now I will never say that to you. Okay, you will always have the choice. But just so that I know that you know what we're doing, if I asked you to eliminate the y's, what would you multiply the top by? 10, right? Because this is the y from the bottom. They're sharing things, okay? What would you multiply the bottom by? Okay, if you multiply the top by 10, this guy has to be negative. Why does he have to be negative? So they eliminate. Here's Elijah, here's why. This has to be 70, this would be 70. If I don't multiply by a negative, this would be 70. But I need one of them to be negative. What's my other option? No. My other option, if I'm eliminating the y's, would be negative 10 and positive 7, right? One of them has to be negative to make the things cancel. You got to have opposite things to make them cancel. Okay? Right? Do you catch that, Izzy? Because this already has a negative in there. Okay. Okay. Let's say on this one, let's say I asked you to cancel the x's. Okay? There's several ways you can do this. If I asked you to cancel the x's, what's one thing you could do?
Just multiply the top by 2. Or negative 2.
I could just multiply the top by negative 2. Because that will make my x's into what? Negative 4. Negative 4x. I can multiply just the top. This is what I was talking about, though. If you're like, I don't see those things, I can't see it, then you know what? Your other option is to multiply the top by what? 4. 4, and the bottom by 2, and one of them has to be negative, right? One of them has to be negative. Doesn't matter. So if you're like, I can't ever find out if I should just multiply 1 or 2, always multiply 2. Right? That will always work. Okay? If I asked you to eliminate the y's, what would you do?
Just multiply the top by negative 5.
Just multiply the top by negative 5. If that's not your deal, this is the 1. Then you would multiply the bottom by 1, or negative 1, and the top by negative 5. Or switch the sign on those.
Would you always multiply them by each other?
Like me personally?
No. Like, is that how you do it? Because like every time you've always multiplied them by each other.
Okay, so like the things that you're telling me, like I would multiply the top by negative 2, I absolutely would do that. Okay, so if you see that, do it, because it's easier, right? It's only one thing. But if you're like, I don't know what to multiply by, some weird thing, multiply both. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, so here's what I would like you to do. I would like to practice this on whiteboards. So go ahead and grab a whiteboard and a marker and eraser.